Dear students, welcome back to the series of lessons on Geography Class 8 Social Science. In today's episode, we will be continuing our study on Chapter 5 of your textbook, Industries. In today's episode, we will be studying about the distribution of major industries and industrial regions. We will also explore the production of iron and steel from iron and steel industry. The major objectives of today's lesson are to study the major industrial regions of the world, compare these regions with industrial regions of India, understand the process of making steel, study the significance of iron and steel industry, examine the Tata iron and steel plant, explore the major iron and steel plants in India. After studying today's lesson, you will be able to map the major industrial regions of India and the world, explain why iron and steel industry is the backbone of our economy, and describe the major iron and steel plants with reference to TISCO. Dear students, we began the chapter with a discussion on how books are manufactured from wood. We define industry as an economic activity that is concerned with the production of goods, extraction of minerals, or provision of services. In the previous episode, you studied the factors affecting the location of industries. In today's episode, we will be studying some of the major industrial regions of the world and study in detail about the iron and steel industry. As you have studied in the previous episode, there are several factors that affect the location of an industry, such as raw materials, water, labor, electricity, market and transport. Industrial regions are places where a number of industries are situated very close and are linked to one another. For example, to produce paper, the pulp mill would require large sums of wood and chemicals to process the wood into paper. Thus, the paper mill would be situated close to the chemical industries to ensure proper supply of chemicals. Similarly, a book printing industry would require large sums of paper and ink to print its books. Thus, the book printing industry too would be situated close to the paper mills and the chemical industries to ensure proper supply of its raw materials. This is how an industrial region develops. Can you identify the industries that would be situated close to a shoe making industry? The paper that is the final product of the paper mill becomes the raw material for the book printing industry. Thus, several industrial regions are developed around the world where the finished product of one industry becomes the raw material for another industry. Look at this map. The major industrial regions of the world are marked in black. Can you identify and name these regions? The major industrial regions of the world are North America, the whole of Europe, and Eastern Asia. Notice how all these regions are located close to rivers and seaports. Can you tell me why these regions are situated close to water areas such as seaports? Yes, you got it right. As you have studied earlier, one of the factors affecting the location of industries is easy access to seaports and rivers. Rivers and seaports offer cheap and easy transport of raw materials and finished goods to and from the industries. Similarly, can you look at this map of India and identify the major industrial regions? There are 8 major industrial regions in India, namely the Mumbai-Pune region, the Kolkata-Hooghly region, the Bengaluru-Tamil Nadu region, the Visakhapatnam-Guntur region, Kollam-Thiruvananthapuram region, the Delhi-Meerut-Gurgaon region, and the Ahmedabad-Vadodara region. Here is a small task for you. Identify the states in which these major industrial regions fall under. Dear students, have you ever seen a building being constructed? Can you guess the metal that is used to give strength to the structure? Yes, they are iron rods. Can you guess the primary metal used in constructing vehicles and large machines? You are absolutely right. It is iron and alloys of steel. Do you know what material the tiny pins, needles and utensils are made of? They are made of steel. As you have already observed, iron and steel form primary metals for the construction of almost anything. Isn't it important to develop the iron and steel industry for the development of our country? Yes, iron and steel industry forms the backbone of the economy of our country, and the development of this industry determines the progress of our country. Therefore, now you have understood the importance of studying the iron and steel industry for the progress of our country. Now, let us explore how iron ore is converted to steel. Iron ore is mined from iron ore fields and is transported to an iron and steel industry. Here, the raw iron ore is mixed with limestone in a blast furnace and is heated beyond its melting point in a process called smelting. Smelting is a process where the iron ore is heated beyond its melting point to extract the metal. Look at this image. This is how a blast furnace looks like. As you can see, the smelting of iron ore requires large sums of heat. This heat is derived from burning coal, about which you have studied in chapter 3. Therefore, along with iron ore and limestone, coal is also an important resource for the production of steel. In this image, you will find the quantity of coal, iron ore and limestone required to produce steel. Notice how much energy and resource is put into producing just 1 ton of steel. After smelting, the melted iron ore is refined and converted to steel. Sometimes this steel is mixed with some other metals such as aluminium and copper to be made into an alloy. What is an alloy? Try to recall from your science classes. An alloy is a metal made by combining 2 or more elements to give it better strength. Thus, steel and alloys of steel act as raw materials for vehicles, buildings, utensils and almost everything you see around you. As you have studied in chapter 3, India and China have large deposits of iron ore, making them suitable for setting up iron and steel industries. Look at this map. You will find the major iron ore fields in India. Notice where they are located and in which region. Now, here is a map of the major iron and steel industries of India. What do you find? Yes, most iron and steel industries are located very close to the iron ore fields. Can you name the industrial region under which these industries are located? Places like Bhilai, Durgapur, Burnpur, Roorkela and Bokaro are located in the Chota Nagpur industrial region. Other places like Bhadravati, Vijayanagara, Vishakhapatnam and Salem are some other important locations for the iron and steel industry. Here is a small task for you. With the help of this map, identify the states under which these major iron and steel industries are located. Now, we will study about one such iron and steel industry which happens to be the first in Asia. Yes, I am talking about the Tata Iron and Steel Plant Limited, that is also known as TISCO, located in Jamshedpur. Can you locate Jamshedpur on the map of India? Have you ever wondered how Jamshedpur got its name? Jamshedpur in the state of Jharkhand was earlier known as Sakchi. It was renamed as Jamshedpur in the memory of the founder of TISCO, Jamshedji Tata. TISCO is a privately owned industry. Can you recall what do we mean by a private sector industry? Jamshedji Tata set up the Tata Iron and Steel Plant in 1907 where 2 rivers met. the Sabarna-Rekha River and the Kharkai River. Why do you think Jamshedji Tata set up his plant near these two rivers? You are absolutely right. These rivers acted as easy means of transport and ensured sufficient supply of water to his plant. Jamshedji Tata was well aware of the factors affecting the location of industries, just as you have studied. He set up his plant in Jamshedpur considering all these requirements. Jamshedpur was very close to the Kalimati railway station. Iron ore and limestone were sourced from places around Jamshedpur. Coal was sourced from the Jharia coal fields. Easy availability of raw materials enabled Jamshedji Tata to set up his plant here. Also, Jamshedpur was just 250 kilometers away from Kolkata, which acted as a marketplace and a seaport to export iron and steel abroad. Thus, Jamshedpur was the perfect location for Jamshedji Tata to set up his plant. After Tisco, many other industries came up around Jamshedpur. These industries manufactured locomotive parts, agricultural equipment, cables, wires and vehicle parts. Why do you think these industries were set up in and around Jamshedpur? Yes, these industries required iron and steel as their raw material, which was produced as a final product by the Tata Iron and Steel Plant. This is how the entire region slowly developed as an industrial region, which we today know as the Chota Nagpur Industrial Region. Dear students, that was the story of Sir Jamshedji Tata and Jamshedpur. We shall study one more iron and steel plant, this time from the United States of America. Pittsburgh is a city in the United States of America which is famous for its iron and steel plants. Look at this map to identify Pittsburgh. Some of the resources such as coal is available locally, while iron ore is sourced from Minnesota about 1,500 kilometers away from Pittsburgh. Between these mines and Pittsburgh is one of the world's best ways for shipping iron ore cheaply, that is the Great Lakes waterway. Here is a map of the Great Lakes. Notice how large the water body is. This is how the Great Lakes look from space. As you have observed, the Great Lakes consist of 5 different lakes that are connected to each other. They are Lake Superior, which happens to be the largest, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. The Great Lakes offer easy means of transport of finished goods and raw materials from Pittsburgh. There are a number of other industries that are developed around Pittsburgh, similarly as in Jamshedpur. These industries produce equipment for heavy machines, locomotives and rails. Dear students, that brings us to the end of this episode. Let us recall what we have studied in today's class. There are different factors that affect the location of industries, such as the availability of raw materials, water, labor, electricity, transport and market. Industrial regions are places where a number of industries are situated very close and are linked to one another. The major industrial regions of the world are Eastern Northern America, Europe and Eastern Asia. There are 8 major industrial regions in India, namely the Mumbai-Pune region, the Bengaluru-Tamil Nadu region, the Visakhapatnam-Guntur region, the Kollam-Thiruvananthapuram region, the Ahmedabad-Vadodara region, the Chota Nagpur region, the Kolkata-Hooghly region and finally the Gurgaon-Delhi-Meerut region. Iron and steel form primary metals for the construction of almost everything. Iron and steel industry forms the backbone of our economy and the development of this industry determines the progress of our country. Iron ore is put in a blast furnace along with limestone where it is heated in a process called smelting. Smelting is a process where iron ore is heated beyond its melting point to derive its metals. After smelting, the melted iron is refined and converted to steel. Sometimes steel is mixed with other elements like aluminium and copper and made into an alloy. Places like Bhilai, Durgapur, Burnpur, Jamshedpur, Roorkela and Bokaro are in the Chota Nagpur industrial region, whereas Bhadravati, Vijayanagara, Vishakhapatnam and Salem are some other important locations for the iron and steel industry. Jamshedji Tata set up the Tata Iron and Steel Company in 1907 at Jamshedpur, where two rivers met, the Sabarna River and the Karkhai River. Jamshedpur was located very close to the Kalimati railway station. Iron and limestone was easily available around Jamshedpur. Coal was available from the Jharia coal field, while Kolkata acted as a marketplace and a seaport to export products elsewhere. Pittsburgh is a city in the United States of America which is famous for its iron and steel plants. It is located very close to the Great Lakes of America. The Great Lakes consist of 5 different lakes. They are the Lake Superior, which is the largest among the 5, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. These Great Lakes offer easy means of transport for raw materials and finished goods from Pittsburgh. Here is some homework for you. Locate and name the major iron and steel industries on an outline map of India and submit it to your teacher. If you were to set up an iron and steel plant in your state, which place would you choose? List 5 reasons as to why you would choose that place and submit it to your teacher. Dear students, I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. In the next episode, we will study another very important industry which has a long history, that is the cotton textile industry. We will also know about some disasters that have happened because of industries. Thank you and goodbye.